The night was cold, and the city lights shimmered like restless stars scattered across the dark sky. Somewhere between the busy streets and quiet corners of New York, a young woman sat silently in the back seat of a car, staring out the window. Her reflection looked back at her, a mix of hope, nerves, and doubt. She had always imagined her first real date to be magical, maybe candlelight, music, laughter. But instead, her evening led her to a small, run-down diner at the edge of town. The neon sign above the door flickered weakly, half alive, like it was embarrassed to still be glowing. Her chest tightened. Was this really worth it? She had said yes because something about the man had felt different. But now, sitting here, she wasn't so sure. If you believe in kindness, in love that's built on sincerity rather than wealth, and in second chances that change hearts, stay with us. Like, share, and subscribe to help us spread more stories that remind the world that love still lives in ordinary places. Her name was Lily Parker, 23 years old, soft-spoken, and marked by invisible scars from a childhood that taught her how to survive when life gave her little. She worked at a small bookstore, spending her days behind the counter, watching other people live the dreams she only read about. Lily wasn't the kind of girl who turned heads. Her clothes were second-hand, her shoes a little worn, but her eyes carried both pain and hope. Like a storm waiting for sunlight. The man she was meeting that night was Daniel Brooks, a construction worker in his late 20s. He wasn't the polished, confident type, but the day they met, his voice had carried a quiet warmth that made her feel safe. He had helped her when her old car broke down, outside the bookstore, kneeling in the freezing wind to fix it without hesitation. Without expecting anything in return, his hands were rough, his jeans faded, but his smile, it was kind. That was enough for Lily to say yes when he shyly asked her to dinner. And now, here she was standing outside that tiny diner, staring at its chipped paint and fogged-up windows. She had imagined something different, but when Daniel walked up, wearing a clean but well-worn shirt and eyes full of sincerity, she forced herself to smile. He didn't have much, she reminded herself softly, and neither do I. Inside, the air smelled of coffee and frying oil. A jukebox hummed an old love song that no one seemed to be listening to. A few truck drivers sat silently at the counter. Daniel led her to a booth near the window, his movements careful, almost shy, as if afraid she might walk away. He opened the menu with a nervous grin, trying to make the moment feel special. Lily looked down. Burgers, pancakes, fries, nothing fancy. For a second, disappointment tugged at her. But then she noticed something. Daniel wasn't looking at the menu. He was looking at her. And in his eyes, she saw something pure, gratitude. As if her being there meant more to him than anything else. Her heart softened. They ordered simple meals, pancakes for him, a small salad for her. The conversation began awkwardly. But soon, the laughter came small at first, then easier. Daniel told her about losing his father as a kid, about growing up too soon and taking care of his younger brother. Lily shared her own story, her mother's endless struggle, her promise to never judge anyone by what they owned. Slowly, the world around them faded away. The cheap diner, the greasy tables, the flickering lights all disappeared. What remained was two people opening their hearts. Lily saw the way Daniel's eyes lit up when he talked about his dream of one day building affordable homes for people in need. And Daniel admired Lily's quiet strength, her determination to finish her studies despite life's weight. Then, something unexpected happened. An elderly couple walked in, fragile, holding on to each other as if afraid the world might knock them down. They sat across from Lily and Daniel, whispering softly. When the waitress came, the couple admitted they could only afford to share one plate. Daniel watched them for a moment, then stood up. He walked to the counter, pulled out his thin wallet, and quietly paid for their meal, asking the waitress not to say a word. Lily watched in silence, her eyes welling up. She realized then, he hadn't brought her here because he didn't care. He brought her here because this was who he was, a man who gave even when he had almost nothing. Her doubts melted away. The old couple smiled, unaware of the gift they'd received. But Lily knew, and when she looked at Daniel, she saw more value in him than in any rich man she'd ever dreamed of. That night, something changed, as laughter filled their booth and stories flowed freely. The coldness of the evening vanished. Daniel told her about saving every penny to put his younger brother through school. Lily confessed her fear of never being enough, and instead of pulling away, Daniel looked at her and said softly, "You already are." Then, something happened that no one in that diner would ever forget. Lily stood up, tears in her eyes, and hugged Daniel, right there in front of everyone. The waitress froze. The truck drivers turned their heads. The jukebox kept playing, like even it didn't dare interrupt. It wasn't a romantic movie hug. It was something deeper, a meeting of two souls that finally found a place to belong. That small, forgotten diner became sacred ground. People talked about it for weeks. The waitress told other customers. The truckers shared it with their families. The story spread about a man who had little but gave much, and a woman who saw beyond appearances. It became a quiet, Reminder that true love doesn't need fancy restaurants or expensive gifts, just two hearts, willing to understand and care. Lily and Daniel kept meeting, always in simple places. Their bond only grew stronger. He introduced her to his brother, who adored her instantly. Together, they built a family grounded in love and humility. Years later, when Daniel finally saved enough to start his own construction company, the first home he built wasn't for sale. It was theirs, a small, cozy house built with his own hands, and on the day they moved in, they went back to that same old diner, not because they couldn't afford better, but because that little place had given them everything that truly mattered. The waitress still remembered them. When she brought their meal, she smiled and whispered, "I knew, from that night, you too would make it." If this story touched your heart, give it a like, share it with someone who still believes in love, and subscribe for more stories that remind us the biggest miracles often happen in the smallest places. And tell us in the comments, would you choose love in a simple diner over luxury without sincerity? Because sometimes, the plainest moments become the most beautiful memories.